Hey Jenny, ready for another dive into the AI ocean? Today, we're surfacing with some real-world applications of large language models LLMs, not just theory, but actual use cases.
Mark, you know I'm always up for this. LLMs are evolving so fast, it's like a full-time job just keeping track. So, hit me with it. What are we uncovering today?
Okay, so check this out. The research says the LLM market's heading towards $40 billion. And it's not just the usual suspects, the tech giants. We're talking healthcare and finance leading the way.
Healthcare and finance? That's a curveball. I mean, chatbots, sure, but hospitals and banks? How are asterisks they times leveraging LLMs?
Here's where it gets interesting. In healthcare, they're using LLMs to help with diagnostics. The research mentions Radiology Llama 2, quite a name, which reportedly speeds up report generation by around 63% compared to traditional methods.
63%? That's a substantial jump. So, faster diagnoses, which I guess means faster treatment plans, right?
Exactly. Less waiting, quicker insights, potentially leading to improved patient outcomes. And over in finance, Goldman Sachs is using LLMs for automated portfolio analysis. They're apparently handling three times their previous throughput.
That makes sense. Analyzing numbers, identifying trends. LLMs are probably naturals at that. But what about the human factor? Are we talking about job losses here?
That's a crucial question, and the research addresses it. It's less about replacing people and more about enhancing their capabilities. It's about freeing them from the routine tasks so they can focus on, the more complex, strategic work.
Right, so it's like providing them with a super efficient assistant. Speaking of assistants, how does this all work? I hear terms like tokens and RLHF thrown around. It sounds pretty sci-fi.
It sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? Tokens are essentially the fundamental units LLMs use to process text. Think of them as word fragments, but for computers. And the way text is broken down into these tokens affects the cost of using these models.
So, longer texts equal more tokens, which means it's more expensive to process?
You got it. And the price range is wide, from a few cents to a whopping $15 per million tokens, depending on the specific model and its application.
$15 per million? Okay, so definitely not pocket change. Companies need to be strategic about their LLM usage, I guess.
Precisely. And that's where RLHF comes into play, reinforcement learning from human feedback. It's a method to train these models to be, more aligned with human preferences and ethics.
So, we're teaching AI to be ethical? How does that even work?
It's a bit like presenting the model with several options and asking, which of these outputs is preferable? Which aligns more closely with human judgment? And the model gradually learns over time.
That's pretty clever, actually. Sort of like crowdsourcing ethical standards. But I can see potential issues. Whose ethics are we prioritizing,
Exactly. That's the challenge. And it highlights the importance of diverse teams working on this and maintaining transparency about the training data used.
Okay, so we've covered healthcare, finance, tokens, and ethical AI. What other gems are hidden in this research?
Well, there's this quote from Dr. Elena Torres, a leading AI researcher. She says LLMs aren't just about predicting text. They're about semantic pattern matching at scales impractical for humans.
Semantic pattern matching. So, identifying connections and insights that humans might overlook because of the sheer volume of data?
Spot on. Think about areas like market research or analyzing customer feedback. LLMs can process massive amounts of information and uncover hidden trends.
It's a bit like having an tireless research assistant capable of reading millions of documents in minutes. This is all quite impressive, Mark, but also a little overwhelming. It feels like we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg.
We definitely are. And that's the exciting part. Consider the cost, for instance. Enterprise chatbots can cost anywhere from $82 to $300 per user per month. That's based on, say, 500 dialogues averaging 20 tokens each.
That's a significant investment, but I suppose when you consider the benefits, like boosted efficiency and quicker turnaround times, it starts to add up, and presumably, those costs will decrease as the technology matures, right?
I'd say so. The technology is advancing rapidly, and with the emergence of multimodal capabilities, LLMs, that can handle not only text, but also images, audio, video. The possibilities are, well, pretty vast.
Let's dig into that a bit more, this multimodal aspect. Does that mean an LLM could, theoretically, watch a movie and produce a review?
Theoretically, yes. Or analyze security footage and identify unusual activity. Or even generate original content by combining different input types. It's a transformative shift, Jenny.
But hold on, Mark. What about the downsides? The research mentions potential job displacement, right? Are certain professions at risk?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. The research suggests that while LLMs will boost productivity, some roles, especially those involving repetitive tasks like data entry or basic customer service, might see some impact. But, historically, for every job displaced, new ones tend to emerge. It's more about a shift in the asterisk type time of work.
Okay, so a restructuring rather than a complete takeover. What about the ethical side? We talked about RLHF, but what about biases in the training data? That's a big one, isn't it?
Absolutely. LLMs can, unfortunately, inherit and amplify biases present in the data they're trained on. This can lead to all sorts of problems, from unfair outcomes to perpetuating harmful stereotypes. It's a constant battle to ensure fairness and inclusivity in the data.
So constant vigilance and diverse data sets are key. And, finally, let's address the elephant in the room, the technological limitations. These things are powerful, but not limitless, are they?
Not at all. There are limitations, and costs are a big one. The computational power needed to run these models is substantial, which translates to significant expenses. And that's not even touching the potential environmental impact. Smaller businesses might find it a challenge to afford to jump in.
It sounds like, with great power comes great cost and responsibility. This has been incredibly insightful, Mark. You've really demystified a lot of this for me.
Anytime, Jenny. And for our listeners, if this has sparked your curiosity, we'll include a link to the research in the show notes. There's a *lot times more to explore. Until next time.